Hello everybody, this is Brett Lonsdale from Lightning Tools and welcome to the webinar this afternoon, at least this afternoon here in the UK, on the Lightning Conductor. And we're going to look at how we can use the Lightning Conductor to aggregate content within inside of Microsoft 365, whether it's from SharePoint Lists or also other applications inside Microsoft 365 using Microsoft Graph. So the first thing we're going to do is just have a quick intro to Lightning Tools, so everybody knows who we are. And first of all, so a quick intro to Lightning Tools and who we are. So my name is Brett Lonsdale. I'm a Microsoft Office Apps and Services MVP, and I founded Lightning Tools just over 14 years ago now. And we are primarily based in the UK. We're headquartered in the UK, just inside of the county of Northamptonshire, and we also have an office in Orlando, Florida as well. And through those two locations, we're able to provide what we consider outstanding tech support, both sides of the ponds, to our customers. So the products that we provide are in the circle here, and we have a range of products that fill gaps inside of Microsoft SharePoint and also inside of Microsoft Teams. They include things like permissions management and data visualization, as well as SharePoint list form design. We also have a discussion board tool, but the product that we're going to be talking about today is the content aggregation tool or the content rollup tool, and that is the Lightning Conductor. So first of all, let's just get some basics out of the way and why we'd want to aggregate some content. And one of the real reasons for aggregating content is that within inside of SharePoint, there's, of course, lots of different types of SharePoint lists and also document libraries as well that get created every single time you spin up a new team site. So it may be that you create a new site, that site could be associated with a hub site and so on. And you as a business user are members of perhaps multiple different SharePoint sites. You're also members of multiple different teams. You're inside lots of different Microsoft 365 groups, and you also use other applications in Microsoft 365 such as Planner and Microsoft To Do. You might use OneDrive and so on. And sometimes it's just difficult to keep track of that document that I was working on. Where did I save it? Which document library did I save it to? Or did I save it to my file system on my desktop? Did I save it to OneDrive and so on? So we can very easily misplaced documents that we've created. We store them in the wrong place, or we just forget where we stored them. And likewise with tasks, there's lots of different applications like task lists. We've got Microsoft Planner where we can create tasks as well. There's Microsoft To Do, and of course you can also create tasks in Outlook and things like that now as well. So there's lots of different places where we can create this content. And it's trying to keep track of it, not just for ourselves, but also for our teams as well. So maybe if you've got a colleague and you know that colleague is working on a document, they said they were going to save it to SharePoint, now they're offline, and we have to kind of guess whereabouts in SharePoint did they actually create that content in order for us to be able to find it. So aggregating content allows us to bring that content together based on the type of content that it is, also maybe based on the type of metadata that's associated with it as well. And it could be that we're bringing in SharePoint list content. Perhaps we want to bring back all documents that were created with a specific content type and have this specific piece of metadata associated with them. Or maybe I want to bring back all the documents that I created or documents that I modified or I've got checked out, and build a view that is dynamic so that as each user on my team logs into their SharePoint site, they're going to see the content that is relevant to them. And it doesn't just apply to documents. It could be, like I say, task lists is a good example, but even non-standard lists could be lists that you created from the custom list template, or other lists like contact lists and things like that. And what we can do is basically build these views within inside the Lightning Conductor that brings back all this content and also allows me to highlight the content using things like conditional formatting so that the important stuff stands out. And it might be the important stuff is tasks that are high priority or tasks that are due today and so on. And you can imagine without having that aggregated view that we could very easily overlook that content because we didn't happen to navigate to that site today, or or even this week. We don't have time in our daily jobs to go and visit every single site, every single team tab, and every single Office 365 group, just looking to see if somebody went through and assigned us to a task. So that's the whole idea, really, is to bring this content into a central view. We can create it on modern pages. We can also create it with inside of team tabs, and we can aggregate all of this content into the one place. And it doesn't have to be one single view. We can actually have one web part that has multiple views, and that's what we're going to look at today. And yeah, not only do we just aggregate that content, but we allow you to control the way that you want it to look. So you can specify which columns from the lists or from the graph entities that you want to add into the view. We can control the filters that you apply. We can get filters from other web parts as well, like the Lightning filters or other environment variables like the current user, and apply those dynamic filters through to the Lightning Conductor so that we're displaying the relevant content that is also security trimmed. Okay, so that's basically one of the reasons why we might want to use the Lightning Conductor, and there are other aggregation tools. There's some that come with Microsoft 365 as it is. So you may have come across things like the highlighted content web part, and yeah, on first looks, it's great. You can aggregate across different site collections. You can bring your content together, but you can't control the views. You don't have the ability to add or remove columns. You don't have the ability to add conditional formatting and all of the other things that we can do here with the Lightning Conductor. So the Lightning Conductor, the version that we're going to be taking a look at, is built under the SharePoint framework. It's the client-side web part for modern SharePoint and also for Microsoft Teams as well. But it is also available as a client-side web part built under the SharePoint framework for SharePoint 2019 and also for SharePoint 2016. But we also have a full trust version as well, which actually is available for 2010, 2013, and 2016. So you can use either or with inside your environment. And going onto our website, if you navigate through to the Lightning Conductor, you'll see both of those versions. So there's a couple of slides here, but I'm going to spend most of the time actually in a live demo. So this is just a sort of example of how we can go and bring tasks together and some of the different conditional formatting that we can apply. And that is highlighting those high priority tasks. It's also showing the percentage complete using a data bar. And it's also highlighting all the tasks that are overdue, as well as showing me the completed tasks and the in progress tasks using grouping, which is then further grouped as well by the user. So we can have full control over how these views look and feel to our users so that they can build the same sort of thing. And the conditional formatting, you don't need to know JSON or anything like that. You can basically go through and configure the conditional formatting using some really simple user interfaces, and that allows you to have access to things like the Fabric UI icons and so on in order to highlight the content. So we're going to take a look at all of this. I'm just going to jump here into Microsoft SharePoint, and we've actually got OneDrive open here, where you can see I've got lots of different folders and documents and things like that. I've also got Planner, where I just have a few plans. There's 4 different plans, and each plan contains some different tasks that are at different stages and so on. And then we've got a page here, and this page is inside a hub site, and inside our hub site I've also got 2 associated sites. So this is the Lightning Tools Sales Hub, and next to it you can see I've got the Europe Sales Team site and also the North American Sales Team site. And what I want to do is basically aggregate some of this content, whether it's documents coming from the document libraries within the hub and those associated sites, or I'm also bringing them in from OneDrive. And likewise with tasks, some people prefer to use task lists, other people tend to prefer to use Planner, and so on. So we're going to build some views where all of that content is aggregated together inside of here in SharePoint, but also we're going to go through and add it into Microsoft Teams as well. So we'll start off with SharePoint, and what I'm going to do is first of all put the page into edit mode. So we'll click onto the edit button over on the right hand side there, and as we hover our mouse on the page, you'll notice that I've got the ability to add a web part. So we're going to add the web part and do a search for the Lightning Conductor. So as I start to type, there it is. We can select it and drop the Lightning Conductor onto the page here. And the Lightning Conductor is really simple to configure. So as long as you are at least a designer to the site, you can go through and configure shared views that your users inside your team will be able to utilize. So in order to bring up that configuration dialog and get the Lightning Conductor to bring back some content, we click onto that configure button. And we first of all take you to a quick configuration dialog, which we address a lot of the common needs for a content aggregation tool. So through here, we can aggregate things like documents and tasks that we've kind of already mentioned are quite widely used, but also some of the other different lists and other types of entities as well coming from Graph, such as the OneDrive items and planner tasks, which you can see in here. But this isn't all that we can do. You can jump into the advanced mode, and basically you can get at whatever content you like using that. And where we're going to start off with is looking at the quick configuration and building some views there, and then we're going to go into the advanced mode and bring some content in that way too. So we'll start off with a really sort of simple scenario. I'm just going to bring back tasks, and you'll notice as I choose the task list as the type of list that I want to work with, we then have a further choice of how do we perhaps want to display that content. Do we want to apply any filters basically? So I can bring back all of the tasks inside the scope that I'm going to choose, or I could bring back all of the tasks that are my tasks that I'm assigned to. And I've also got my overdue tasks as well. So they're just a couple of filters on the date due column as well as the assigned to column. So we're going to start off with the all tasks. And in here, again, we've got some sort of common ways of choosing the scope where your content is going to come from. And as I already mentioned, I'm in a hub here. So I'm in the Lightning Tools Sales Hub, and the Lightning Tools Sales Hub has some associated sites. So I'm basically going to say I want to aggregate from the current site and also any associated sites. But I could go across the whole tenant. I could go and choose different site collections, and I could also choose different sites and subsites as well, depending on what I want to achieve here. So I'm going to select the current site and associated sites, and then the final choice here is how do you want to display this content. We can display it in a grid view, and that's a modern responsive grid view that can have the conditional formatting, and you can choose your columns and so on, or we can also display it inside a calendar. So anything that comprises of a start date, an end date, and a title can be displayed in a calendar using the Lightning Conductor. So you can bring back events, you can bring back tasks, or even custom lists that have those three columns we can display inside the calendar format. Okay, so I'm going to basically select save on that configuration, and we'll immediately get some results coming back. So this is bringing three task lists together, so nothing very onerous, but we could bring back thousands or tens of thousands of items in this way from perhaps hundreds of different sites if you needed to. So in here we've got some of the different columns already selected for us, but you may want to add some additional columns to that or even remove some columns. So what you can do, you don't have to go into a complicated configuration or write JSON or anything like that. I can simply hit the drop down of any of the columns and go down to the column settings, and this is where I can hide columns or show columns. And the columns that I can show are all relevant to task lists. So I'm not seeing every single column and then playing a guessing game as to which ones are associated with task lists. All of these here are task list columns or task list related columns. So I can choose, for example, the start date and add that to my view. So now we have the start date as well as the due date displayed inside the view, and I can move that start date over to the left and perhaps position it before the due date. So we can just move that wherever we want that to appear. Now you'll also notice that the start date and the due date, none of them are time specific, it's just the date. So we can do our data formatting from here as well. We can come down to the formatting tab and, sorry, beg your pardon. I can come down to the more settings, and then under the display format, I can change that to short date and specify the type of date that I want to see. So that way we're saving a bit of space on our view by just displaying the piece that we really need. Okay, so they're the date columns, and just a few other bits and pieces in here. We'll apply some conditional formatting. So what I really want to do is have some high priority tasks stand out to me. So as you can see, we'd have to look fairly carefully through the list and determine which ones are high priority and which ones are not. So what I can do here is just click onto the priority column, come down to the formatting, and set the condition. So the priority is equal to high is my condition, and then I can do several things. I can change the fore color, I can change the background color, I can change the alignment of that font, and so on. I can also go through and set an icon. So the icon that I'm going to use is that blob here, but there's hundreds to choose from. So you can select whatever icon you want. So I'm going to choose this one, and then we can go through and set the color and the size and the position of that icon. So here we'll choose a custom color. So we can go through and select whichever color we want and hit save, and that's set that condition with the icon. And I just want to add a couple more conditions in here because, of course, we've got the other priority statuses. So we've got low priority and normal priority. So with those, for the normal priority, I'm actually going to go with the theme color. So whatever the theme is set to on the site, we'll pick up that color. And for the low priority, we'll set those to green. So we've set our conditional formatting, and all I have to do now is, sorry, I must have misclicked there. Let's just go through and set that again. There we go. So we'll hit save, and as you can see, we've got the normal priority, which is in blue, which is the blue theme applied to my site, and then we've got the green and the red ones standing out for me. And the data bars, we can also go through and show those. So we can again click onto formatting. The data bars could display upon a condition being met. I don't need to, I just want to always display the data bar, so I'll delete the condition, and I'll set the maximum value here for being 1, and hide the underlying value. And again, the default color is going to be the theme color, and as we hit save, you can see that we can now visually see the progress that these tasks are going through. So those ones at 100% are quite clear. Okay, and things like grouping is really simple to do as well. So we can just hit the group by, and as you can see, really easily get the type of view that we want to work with. All right, so that's basically working with a task list. Now you'll notice here I can name that. So I'm going to call that tasks, and that's the view that I'm naming. And I could also go through and clone it. So if I wanted to clone this view, I've now got another one, and we could change this to, say, tasks in a calendar. So we'll go back into the configuration, and rather than display this in a grid view, we'll choose a JSON provider, and the display is going to be a calendar display. So we could go through and set it that way using the advanced configuration, or we could actually just do the quick configuration again and say I want to aggregate tasks from the current site and associated sites, but display those in a calendar. So again, we get to name that view. So we'll call it tasks in a calendar, and now we can just toggle between those two views, or the user can toggle between those two views and see the content that they want to see. So there's an empty calendar, so no tasks this month. It's a brand new month. If we go back further, we can see some of these tasks that are coming through and showing up in the calendar, and they're in red, which means they're all overdue. So we could go through and change that if we wanted to. We can go in and change the conditional formatting that's assigned to the calendar itself as well. Okay, so there's just a couple of different views that you can create here inside of SharePoint. And to show you that if I jump into Teams, we've got the Lightning Conductor there as well. So you can basically just go through and add that to any team. You can select the Lightning Conductor here. And I'm going to go through and configure that one. So if we wanted to bring tasks in from SharePoint and display them in a grid view with inside of Teams, we can do that as well. And not only with tasks, but also those other types of lists too. So we'll just name this one tasks, and I'll go through and do the same sort of thing with documents. So we can go through and add a view called documents. Again, hit that configuration icon, and we can say I want to bring back all documents from the current site and associated sites, again in a grid view. And we now have a document view that we can load, as well as the task view. And notice that we've got that ability to expand and collapse all the different folders within inside those documents, and we can also filter it to show the documents that are relevant to me. So that's easily done through each of the different filters that you'll see here, but we'll go through and show you that in just a moment. Okay, so it's capable of working within both of those environments. I'm just going to delete this one off the page here, because I'm going to go through and do something a bit different. So rather than working with SharePoint lists, we're going to again use the quick configuration, but this time we're going to do it with Planner. So where I've got these Planner plans, and each plan has different tasks all at different stages, I want to build a view that is going to bring back that content and display it here inside the Lightning Conductor. So again, we could do that, and actually Planner already has like my tasks, so I can go through and see my tasks even if they span multiple plans. We can do that. But if you wanted to see your team's tasks, you'd have to navigate into each of the different Planner plans, and of course maybe also task lists and so on. So that's the benefit that we're driving here, is the ability to see that easily in an aggregated view where we want to see it, either in SharePoint or Teams. So we can hit configure again, and we've built in a Planner plans view and a Planner tasks view. And what I'm actually going to do here is join those together. So we'll have Planner plans. That's really all I need to say. It's all the Planner plans. That's the only option at the moment. And we want it to come from the Microsoft Graph. So the Microsoft Graph is this effectively endpoint service that is giving us access and API access to all of this content through Microsoft 365. And as Microsoft announced at Microsoft Ignite last week, this has also been opened up to certain other providers, so not just Microsoft. People like Adobe have their graph now, so you can use connectors to the Adobe Graph. So in the future, we'll be able to report on other content too using the graph. So this is against Planner. So notice here it's brought back those plans. So we've got those selected. And we're also going to go through and add another instance of the Lightning Conductor here. And that other instance I'm going to configure. And this time I'm going to configure it to bring back Planner tasks. So we've got the tasks and the plans in two separate web parts here. And the reason why they're in two separate web parts is I effectively want to drill down into this content. So I'm going to go into the properties of the first web part instance, the one that is showing the plans. So we'll select that and go into the properties here. And under the display, I'm going to allow the users to select rows. And what that is basically going to do is give me this column here. So literally you can just go through and select one or more rows like that. And then I'm going to have the other web part get that row that is selected and filter upon it. So in this second instance, we'll again go into the cog for the view. And this time under the columns tab, I'm going to take the plan column here. So we're going to click onto the filter icon for that. And notice we've got the operator here. So is equal to or greater than, less than, etc. And rather than putting in a static name of a plan, I'm actually going to hit this icon here, which is the connector icon, and we're going to have that connect to the other instance of the Lightning Conductor. And I'm going to, rather than filter on all of the retrieved items, I'm going to filter on the selected items that the user selects. And I'm going to pass through the title of the plan that the user selected. So we'll just go through and save that. And you'll notice that this has been trimmed to no longer showing any results. We're still here in edit mode of the page. I'm just going to publish that. And you'll notice that now if I select the SharePoint Conference NA, for example, we see all the tasks for that particular event that we have to perform. And I could deselect that one and show the marketing plan. see what planner tasks I have there to perform, or I could also show both of them since they're both kind of marketing related, and select those, and we get all of those different tasks coming back here. And just like you saw with the task list, we could then go through and format these columns. We could apply some conditional formatting and bits and pieces like that too. Even on things like the assigned to, we might want to highlight the current user using some conditional formatting or something like that. Okay, so you've got the ability to work with graph in that way, and that's just using one of our built-in kind of graph views, which is useful. Let's go through and add another instance of the Lightning Conductor, and this time we're going to bring back this content from my OneDrive. So we'll bring back these folders and these files and display those here inside the Webpart. So basically I'm going to hit on configure again, and we're going to come down to drive items, and we've got a choice of my drive items or the drive items that have been shared with me. So if somebody has actually gone through and literally shared a folder or shared a file with me, we'll see those. So I've got a choice of what sort of content I want to see here. Again, we're going to display that in a grid view. So when I hit save, there we go. We've now got the folders and the files, and we've got all of the metadata that's associated with those, all displayed within inside that view. And we could call that OneDrive files, or my OneDrive files, whatever we want to call it. And I could create another new view to show my documents. And when we go through and configure that, we can say I want to aggregate documents, all documents from the current site and associated sites, and again display those within inside this grid view here. So now the user has the choice of seeing all of the documents that are living inside of document libraries and inside of SharePoint, or also getting access to the OneDrive files. So really saving the amount of time that it takes to go and locate this information in the first place. You can get it very quickly using those views. Okay, so that is a couple of, or quite a few quick configurations that you can perform using the different web parts. And I wanted to show, before we jump into the advanced mode, a little bit more that you could do with the web part connections as well. And we're going to sort of combine some of these things here. So let's just do a search on the Lightning Conductor again and add that. And what I'm going to do, I could do this from the quick configuration. We're trying to make the quick configuration more and more powerful without overwhelming you. But I could choose users. Notice that here. We're just going to use the Microsoft Graph to bring back some users. But I want to show you the advanced mode. And it's through here that we can go through and be very granular. Like, so do I want to use the search rollup engine provider, the object model rollup provider, or the graph rollup provider? So we'll explain all of these three things. I'm going to start off here with the graph rollup provider, which is exactly what we just said. Using graph, we can go and query stuff inside of Microsoft 365. And we've got a choice of display provider as well. So there's JSON views that are built in. You can build your own JSON views if you want to, likewise with XSLT, or you can use the grid view, which is the one that we've been working with so far. So we're using graph. Under the data source, we've got a number of different graph entities that you can work with, and we're adding to this list all the time. So one of the things that you might want to do here is bring back users. So I'm going to choose the user entity, but notice there is the OneDrive items and drives as well. We can bring back calendars. We can bring back a planner or items that are created with content type and that sort of thing. So I'm going to bring back users. And we can create the query for those users here. So I can click onto the plus, either use a predefined one that we've written for you, or you can actually go through and create your own custom query and just write that in there. But I'm going to use this predefined one, which is going to be all users. So I'm bringing back all SharePoint users basically. And under the columns tab, this allows me to go through and select which columns from users, effectively user profiles here, that I want to display. So all of those are available to me, and I've got things like the department that I could show. Sorry, let me just find the right information that I wanted to get. So I'm looking for display name and mail. Sorry, there's mail. So we can go through and select that. And there's display name. So I can select the columns that I want to show, and we can also add some calculated columns as well, and do all the filtering and grouping and what have you from here. So I think I missed mail. Okay. So we can then format these, so we can make them hyperlinks if we want to, or not, and we can choose how we want to display their name, whether it's in a picture or whatever. So so that's basically the view that I want to get, and in fact, there is one other column that I might want to show, and that is the type, if I see it. User type. So I'm going to select the user type as well. So as we've got those three columns selected, because the graph is basically bringing back the sort of programmatic name, we might want to change these. So I could say username and email and type of user. So we could add all of that in there instead of just sticking with the underlying column name. Again, you could do all of your conditional formatting and that sort of thing. I'm going to allow the selecting of rows and then basically hit save. So you'll notice that I'm now bringing back all of the users through the Microsoft Graph. And we could, if we wanted to, go through and group by the user column, so then we get to see the external users, and we also get to see the internal users, the members. Now I'm also going to go through and quickly add a tasks view. So we'll add that. And we'll configure the tasks view just using this quick configuration. So again, we'll bring back all of the tasks and display those in a grid view. And then using this tasks view, I'm going to allow this to be connected. So based upon the assigned to column, we're going to go and get that value from the selected user in the first instance of the Lightning Conductor. So I can go through and again work with the selected item based upon the display name. So these are now connected Webpart. So out of all of the users within inside the site, if I was to choose, say, demo user 1, I'll now see demo user 1's tasks. And we could also add in other users as well. So demo user 2 can also be selected. So now we see demo user 1's and demo user 2's tasks and so on. So all of these web parts, you can create multiple instances of them and connect them for different types of scenarios, as you've seen with Planner, but it's not just on Planner. You can do it for all sorts of things in that same way. And we can also, if I just delete that for a moment, work with another web part. So it doesn't always have to be the Lightning Conductor that you're working with. So I'll just clear that filter there. And I'm going to add a different type of web part, which is called Lightning Filters. And this is one that Lightning Tools actually provides for free. So we don't sell this, we just give it away. And this filter web part has a choice of different types of filters that you might want to provide. So notice, for example, there's a people filter in there, there's a date filter or a choice filter, and that sort of thing that you can choose from. And I'm going to go with the people filter here. And we're going to default to the current user and allow only users to be selected. And I can go through and change the label here to say, please select a user to see their tasks. And then we just filter on that column instead. So as I go into the Lightning Conductor for the tasks again, we'll go to the columns view, and that assigned to is basically going to use a web part connection again to go against the Lightning Filters web part, and we'll bring back the title of the user in this case. So they're now connected. So notice it's defaulting to the current user as we asked it to, but I could remove that. So if I wanted to see my team's tasks, I just start to type the username and we can then select that user, and then we can see that user's tasks and so on as well. So, so the filter Webpart can be used for all sorts of different scenarios with the Lightning Conductor, which is great. And not only can you consume a Webpart connection with the Lightning Conductor, but you can also provide a connection. So in this case, I'm going to add the Lightning Data Viewer as an example of that. And I'm going to configure the Lightning Data Viewer, which is usually going to go and get data from outside of SharePoint. So whether it's like an Excel workbook or SQL Azure database or something like that, I'm going to actually connect that to the Lightning Conductor and build a chart. So we could go through and configure the connection. So we tell it that we're going to connect to the Lightning Conductor, and I'm going to bring back all the retrieved items. So yeah, all of them basically. So we'll save that. And when I go to the columns view, notice it's bringing back those columns that we're displaying inside the Lightning Conductor. So I've got things like the ID column in there and the priority column that I could select. And when we go to the display, notice we're now seeing a chart. What I'm going to do is group by the priority, and we'll do a count of the IDs, of the list IDs. And rather than displaying that here in a simple line chart, we'll have a pie chart. And we could go in and make that pie chart 3D. And I don't know why it chose black for that one. It just randomly chooses colors, and that's a bad color to choose. So let's just go with the dark blue. There we go. So we get our chart displaying with the legend, and you can control all of that. And as I hit save, that web part is now displaying a chart based on the aggregated content coming in from those lists that we could also filter, and that would not only filter the Lightning Conductor, but it would also filter the chart as well. So you can have this whole dashboard going on of your content, either coming from SharePoint Lists or also from Microsoft 365 as well. Okay, so that's a couple of examples of what we can do. I'm also going to just simply remove that one, and we'll remove the data viewer as well. And we'll jump back into the advanced mode because there's a few things that I want to show you in there. So we're going to go through and configure it once more, and again, jump into the advanced mode here. So we talked about Graph. So Graph allows us to go against SharePoint lists. It allows us to go against users and OneDrive items, planner tasks, and that sort of thing, as you've seen. We can use the object model, and the object model allows me to go through and build a view in real time based upon content. And I can literally be very granular and go and select individual lists. So we can drill into the different site collections and so on, and choose the lists that we want to aggregate from. So literally go through, and select those from different sites and different site collections, or we can sort of blanket say, across these multiple site collections that I'm going to choose, including the current one and any others in here. So we could go down and find the North America sales, for example. So that one is, and we could also choose the European sales. So we've got those 3 site collections. So as any site collection is created, if any site is creating those site collections, we'll be aggregating their content, and we can do that on the type of content. So again, we could choose tasks as the type of content here, and we could also choose the content type if we wanted to drill down further. So there's a few different options that we can configure to, as well as select the columns that we want to display. So things like the % complete, the due date, and so on. And as you've seen, you can do all of this from the quick configuration, just showing you sort of an alternate way of doing that. So we can go through and grab these columns, drag them into the order that we want to show them in, and we can also build the calculated columns from here too. So it might be that I want to build like a date range. So that would allow me to see how many days I have in order to work on these tasks. So we can choose the data type, and in here we could take things like the due date and insert that in the calculation and deduct from that the start date. and insert that one, and we'd then have to divide by whatever number that is because it's in milliseconds, and we can also use connections as well in our calculations too. And then we get to that display mode where we can go through and format how we want these columns to look, which again you could do from the grid view if you wanted to. Okay, so very sort of flexible options in there, and I'm just going to hit save on this one. So there you go, we've got a tasks view, and that was all configured using that advanced mode. So this is real time. If any of these tasks changed, then the Lightning Conductor is going to reflect that change immediately. Whereas what you can also do, if we just clear this configuration, is we can configure in the advanced mode the search rollup provider as well. And this is effectively going to allow me to do a similar thing, but we're using search to bring back the content. So you're going to get a performance benefit from using search, but the content is going to be as up to date as the search index. But there's lots of different things that we can choose. So we can query the search based on content type or on a tag or something like that. I'm actually going to go down to what's popular. So I can use that search result. So anything that's popular, and that's all I need to configure here. We could, of course, refine these query text. So it's saying, is it a list item or is it a document? If I just wanted documents, and I can get rid of the is document equals true and so on. So you can work with all of those. There's some query template variables. So you could specify the type of content that you want to work with if you wanted to. So I could say, this has got to be a document and specify that in there. And under the columns, we get to choose things like who the author is and what's the path, the URL path, what's the site name, anything that we want to see basically coming back from the search. So we can go through and again drag those into the order that we want those to appear in, and hit display, refine the display properties again so we can make the path a hyperlink. If we wanted it to be a hyperlink in a new window, we can do that. And the author, we could do what we want with him, whether we want to show the username or not, and so on. So basically lots of different refinements that we can do here, and as we hit save, notice we're now seeing what's popular. So they may be pages, they may be sites, they may be documents, whatever. We can navigate to those inside that view. So it's no specific type of query based on list type, it's just literally what is popular and bringing that back from the search results into our Webpart instance. Okay, so that's using search. We've seen the object model as well, so we can go against that, and you've also seen the graph as well, and how we can bring back content based on the Microsoft graph, and all of that is available here inside of Teams as well. So you can very easily get at your content from SharePoint, display it in Teams, and as I mentioned, you could also make it relevant to you, so you're not just seeing every single document that's in SharePoint. It might be that you want to see documents that you created that are in SharePoint and display those inside your Teams tab, and that would be dynamic then. So as each user goes into Teams and clicks onto that tab, they're going to see their content. So all we need to do there is on the created by, hit the drop down. We could do it in two places, either there, or we can, as you've seen, go into the columns tab through the configuration, the advanced configuration, and where I say created by, we can hit the me checkbox there, or if you want, you can, I just want to show you this, we can go against the page environment. And so the page environment, the reason for showing you that is it's not just the user, but we can also get query strings, we can get site properties, and also search values. So if I wanted the current user information, the current user, I want to return the user name, I think it is. So we'll just save that one. Yeah, so notice how all of the documents that are displaying now were all created by Lightning Tools, which is the account that I'm currently logged in as. As soon as a user comes in and logs in using a different account name, then they're going to see their content instead. Okay, so great ways to bring back content from lots of different places using the Lightning Conductor and being able to highlight that information. So the Lightning Conductor is available for, like I said, SharePoint Online or SharePoint on-premises, just about every version we cover. So the Lightning Conductor that you saw is the Lightning Conductor client-side Webpart. If you're interested in using the Lightning Conductor in SharePoint on-premises as well, you can actually use the client-side Webpart, the exact same Webpart, inside of SharePoint 2019 or 2016. Or you can also use a full trust version as well, which is more of a sort of classic look and feel to the Webpart, but effectively also does the SharePoint list aggregation. So what I'm going to do now is open up for questions, and you can either, if you can't think of a question now, feel free to message us or message me using email on brett@lightningtools.com, or you can follow us on @lightningtools, and you can send a message using Facebook, you can send it through LinkedIn, or if you go onto our website, there's a chat bot, so you can go through and ask your questions anyway there if you like. Or you can ask a question now. So there is a question pane in the GoToWebinar software, so you can post a question there. Or if you want to raise your hand, I can unmute you and you can ask your question out loud. So I'll give you a moment to figure those things out. So you should see a raise hand icon if you wanted to ask a question verbally, or just type your question into the questions pane and I'll read your question out. Okay, there is a question there on licensing. So yeah, let me just explain that one to you. So I'm just going to bring up our homepage, which is perhaps the easiest way of explaining this. So as we go into the Lightning Conductor client-side Webpart, this is where you can find it. So under products, we can go to the Lightning Conductor here. And yeah, you can book a private demo or download it from that site. And there's also pricing here, which will take you through the different pricing models. So basically, our base price covers up to 250 users, and anything over 250 users is just an additional $1 per user per year. So that's an annual subscription. And for larger organizations, if you have at least 5,000 users, then that per user price drops to 75 cents per user per year, and so on. And we also have some enterprise licensing as well, where you can license the entire tenant regardless of the number of users. So there's three different sort of pricing models there that hopefully you can find useful. And also, if you wanted to, like I say, download the trial of that, you can do that from the Lightning Conductor page itself. There's some training videos here which will take you through how we did some of the things that we did today. But also, just to mention that if you're inside a SharePoint and you want to trial the product, what you can do is actually go through and add it through the App Store. So as we go to add an app inside of SharePoint, just simply come down here to the SharePoint store if your organization has allowed that, and you can do a search here for Lightning or Lightning Tools or Lightning Conductor. Any of those are going to find the products. So you can do a search on Lightning here, and there you'll find the products in the App Store. And SPFX client-side Webparts have only been in the App Store for a couple of months now, which is why we're not seeing any ratings yet. But yeah, you can go through and select the Lightning Conductor there and request it, and that is going to send a request to your tenant admin, which they can then approve, and you'll get the Lightning Conductor that way. So there's several different ways of obtaining that if you want to do it through the App Store or download it from Lightning Tools. Okay, I don't see any other raised hands or any other questions. So I'm just going to thank you for attending, everybody. I hope you found that useful. If there's any feedback that you have as well, please feel free to drop us a line on brett@lightningtools.com. The webinar was recorded, so I'll be posting that up later today. So as you go onto lightningtools.com, you'll notice there is a webcast page or webinar page. You go there and you'll find the recording, but we'll also be sending that out to you as a link in email as well. All right, thank you very much everybody for joining. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.